In this video, I'm going to cover the project that I've been working on for the last few months, and I'm going to introduce you to Cryptopia. So Cryptopia is the project that I'm working on full-time. This YouTube channel is a kind of a side thing for me. My main focus is on Cryptopia and growing it. So Cryptopia is the world's first decentralized resort where an NFT allows you to stay for a week at the resort every single year into perpetuity. To give you an example of how this works, let's say we acquire a resort of 100 rooms. Now there are 52 weeks in the year, so we're gonna have roughly 50 weeks and maybe 2 weeks for maintenance and random stuff. And so those 50 weeks times 100 rooms equals 5,000 NFTs. So that's a theoretical model. Obviously, it will go up or down depending on the size of the resort we acquire. So the NFTs will also have rarity. Obviously, there will be some NFTs that perhaps might have, the ocean view room, or they might be bigger, and some that are smaller. So there will be that interesting rarity / reveal kind of process. Now, what makes this different from a typical timeshare project, right? Because what we're essentially doing here is tackling the timeshare project and putting a whole new spin on it and really improving the model to where this becomes a really great way to actually buy a vacation. So the first thing we're doing is actually giving the NFT holders, the DAO, which will consist of NFT holders, ownership of this resort. So we're actually going to set up a foundation that will be governed by DAO holders, and our entity, TokenStay, which is the parent company that's going to kind of basically build the tech stack and basically bring this into fruition, we're going to be a different legal entity. So the ownership of the actual resort will lie with the community of NFT holders. Now there are a few cool features we're building in to really make this an interesting model. The first of those features is staking. So what we want to eventually set up and provide the tools to the DAO for is to allow the DAO to go out and set up a pool of basically rooms that are being staked. And when I mean staked, it's essentially you're locking up your NFT. You're saying, hey, I don't want to come use this NFT for this year. I don't want to come stay for this week that I have for this year. Go out there and basically put it on the rental markets, put it on Airbnb or hotels.com. And basically the DAO would go out there and do that automatically for you and take that revenue into pool and divide it among all the people who are staking their NFTs. So that isn't one option. Obviously, if you just want to privately lend this out or rent it out to somebody you can also do that, and we'll set up a lending mechanism for that as well. So that's one kind of really cool aspect of this, because in traditional timeshares, it's not really a model, or if it is, it's very hard to do that. There's a lot of bureaucracy involved. While with our system, we want to make it really easy for you to be able to actually go out there and lend out your NFT or rent it out as you see fit. Now, another big portion of Cryptopia is building that in-person community, because the majority of people who will be staying at Cryptopia will be crypto natives, as we are essentially selling an NFT collection to kickstart this business model. This is going to be a really strong in-person community. Now, when we look at events like NFT NYC, or when we look at all the Ethereum events out there, we know that basically people are willing to pay a premium to meet other crypto natives in person, be able to have that in-person conversation. And we know that people spend thousands of dollars on that for a conference, and that doesn't even include accommodation, flights, etc. So there's a clear demand for that in-person experience. And we think with a resort like this, we can create an incredible experience where you walk in and you are able to sign in to basically your stay. You'll have your NFTs on the wall. You'll be able to have an NFT art gallery in the resort. You'll be able to meet other crypto natives. Like we often say, you could meet your next business partner, or you find your next job at Cryptopia, right? We want to build that in-person kind of infrastructure for being able to connect and network with other crypto natives while also having a blast and really fun times. And part of that includes events and conferences and making sure that there's a lot of those going on. There's a lot of free kind of classes and free things you can learn while you're there. And the goal is to really allow you to make it whatever kind of vacation you want. If you want to go to the resort to just chill out and hang out, that's cool. There'll be a bar, there'll be a lot of fun social things to do. But then if you also want to go and take some sort of, let's say, a Solidity class or a coding class, we'll also have those options. So that's one thing we really want to focus on, is creating that in-person programming and events. So when you do come in for the stay, there's a lot of things to do, and also throwing conferences, because this is such a perfect kind of set up for our conference because we'll have a resort. So it is probably one of the world's best conference venues in terms of just basically you already have that in-person community built around it. Now, a big portion of this project is the Cryptopia DAO. So the DAO will actually be able to govern and make major decisions. This even includes the initial resort we acquire. So when we do mint, what we're going to do is provide the DAO with a bunch of various options of different resorts in different geographies and different locations, and let the DAO choose what kind of resort they want. The reason for this is obviously we're going to do the heavy lifting of figuring out legal and figuring out which jurisdictions are the most tax-friendly and crypto-friendly. However, once we do that, we'll provide the DAO with a bunch of options, and the NFT holders will decide, okay, we want this resort, and then they will go ahead and basically have ownership of that resort. So that's kind of one of the big keys, is we are essentially focusing on having a DAO and building a DAO that's going to be able to run and operate this resort long-term into perpetuity. And one of the reasons for that is we have two entities here, right? So we have Cryptopia, which is this physical resort, and TokenStay. So TokenStay is our long-term vision. TokenStay is the vision of basically being able to build a tech stack that other timeshares can use and other short-term accommodations can use to be able to kind of have a whole new model of basically buying resorts or buying properties, and essentially even create an ecosystem where people can exchange their timeshares. There can be a whole token behind it. So if you want to, let's say, have two timeshares that are of different values, you can basically use a token to kind of smooth that over in terms of the value difference. So there's so many possibilities here in terms of the technology that could be built to really revolutionize the timeshare industry, which, by the way, is a $50 billion industry, right? So we want to really disrupt this $50 billion industry and add a lot of value to it. And that's the vision behind TokenStay. However, our vision with Cryptopia is the OG project. The NFT holders will get a lot of benefits from TokenStay. We'll have a lot of value flowing from TokenStay as we scale our tech stack and basically build the tech stack that these resorts and timeshares can use. And that value will flow back to Cryptopia NFT holders in the form of either tokens or airdrops or staking. But we're obviously still figuring that out. That's obviously a longer term 5 to 10 year play. But that gives you an idea of where we're going. And because of that, we really do want to focus on decentralizing Cryptopia, because we really do think that if we want to go and build this massive tech stack and really try to disrupt this timeshare industry, we can't just be running a resort, right? Like, we need to actually have our community take over resort operations and empower the community and make sure it's handed off over 1 or 2 time periods, because you can't just decentralize right away. You can't just give a DAO a resort and say, hey, run this physical operation. You have to actually hand it over in an intelligent manner. So that's the general game plan with the DAO. And obviously, as we get more and more further along with this project, we're going to develop that into much more specific actions. Now, the way this could even work is, for example, if you are an owner of a week in a room, and let's say there are 50 weeks, so 50 owners of a room, there would even be mini DAOs. So you would have the whole DAO that would be for Cryptopia, the resort, and then you would have DAOs for each room, right? So there could be 100 individual DAOs of 50 or 40 to 50 owners of these individual rooms. And what that would allow you to do is, if you want your room to have some crazy pirate theme, you can go for it. If you want your room to have a sci-fi theme, as long as the other people in your mini DAO are on board and there's enough of a, basically consensus on that, then absolutely you can go ahead and do that. So there is so much possibility here in terms of both experimenting with governance and creating an incredible experience where everybody comes together and uses this environment to create a unique experience. I'm personally very excited. Now, obviously, at this point, you're probably wondering, okay, who are the founders? Is this legitimate? Is this not legitimate? So here's the website for Cryptopia. And basically, at this point, we have 2 founders. So me, Shash, obviously you've been watching this channel. So I built Links Digital Agency, which is a marketing agency. You can look it up. And I essentially scaled it to 0 to 7 figures in 2.5 years. We've helped our clients generate over $30 million with YouTube advertising. So I have a lot of marketing experience. I've been an entrepreneur since I was young. And essentially that's my major project that I've been kind of working on, right, the agency. But now I'm full-time into crypto. I sold my agency to my ex-business partners a few months ago, and I'm now working full-time on Cryptopia. And my co-founder is Dimitri. So Dimitri runs one of the top agencies in the internet marketing and e-commerce space. It's called dimniko.com. They've generated something like 200 million plus in client revenue. It's a massive agency, something like 25 or 30 people. And he's also consulted with businesses in tech, e-commerce, logistics, mining. He runs the Cape Town Supercar Club. He's also a very experienced entrepreneur. Now, we also hired on a third person, which is Nick Hill. He's our chief marketing guy, and he's been in the marketing industry for a while, so he's been helping us with outreach, and we're bringing on some advisors. So some of the roles we're going to bring on is an advisor in the real estate and NFT spaces. So we're actually actively looking for real estate advisors. We'll probably also hire a good experienced timeshare operator at a certain point as we get closer to mint. In the early stages of the project, we did have a third person who's an experienced timeshare, basically business owner, and he was the one who kind of convinced us to do this project. Right now, he's more of a, somebody we bounce ideas off, but at a later point, we may bring him on formally as an advisor. So we are starting off small with our team, but essentially we have tested kind of this idea and really discussed it in depth with people in the timeshare and real estate industry. And then based on their feedback, we're moving ahead, and we'll be bringing on more people in that industry to really bolster this project. So at this point, we just started, so you can come check out our Discord, join the link there, follow us on Twitter, and definitely join the Discord because that's a great opportunity to get whitelisted. I'll show you guys how to get whitelisted in the Discord. So what you need to do is go into announcements, and if you scroll up here, we still have this open. Yeah, right over here. So right over here, there's a little, on May 3rd, I have a little process. It's just a quick little, you just read our white paper, fill out a quick survey, and that's how you get whitelisted. So I would highly recommend you do that. And yeah, would love to have you on board. We're still really small, so it's easy to get whitelisted. We still have like 10 spots in this basically little process. And obviously, as we start scaling, it's going to get harder and harder to do that. Now, a question that I get often is, when are you planning to mint? It's probably going to be late Q3 or early Q4. We're taking our time to build this. We are essentially buying a massive physical resort, right? So this is not something we want to rush. We're not going to go and try to do this in 2 months or 3 months. We're giving ourselves a solid 6 months because there's just so much involved. Even in terms of legal, we've literally had to talk to 6 or 7 legal teams, spend a lot of money on lawyers to finally find a legal team that actually works for us. So it is a pretty intense process, and it's going to definitely require some time, which is why we've set around a 6-month timeline to actually mint. And we really want to make sure we provide the most value possible to our holders, which is why we're really building this with diligence and focus and not trying to rush this at all. In the end, I've seen too many projects fail because they've just been trying to go about things way too fast. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to subscribe, and you can definitely check out Cryptopia. I'll put all the links in the description below to check that out, and make sure to follow me on Twitter as well, because I post a lot of alpha threads in there. I post a lot of stuff I cover on the channel, but like weeks earlier on the Twitter. So thanks again for watching. I'll see you in the next video.